That cheese sauce you're pouring on nachos isn't what you think it is. The convenient squeeze bottle you grab at the grocery store might contain more water than cheese, emulsifiers that prevent your body from absorbing nutrients, or enough sodium to blow through daily limits in a single serving. I spent weeks investigating America's liquid cheese brands. What I found will make you put that squeeze bottle back on the shelf. In the next 15 minutes, I'm going to expose exactly which cheese sauces are lying to you. By the end, you'll know exactly which cheese sauces to avoid and what alternatives are delicious and actually deserve space in your kitchen. Let's start with the liquid cheese villains. This is where it all started. The product that taught America that cheese doesn't need to be cheese. Kraft introduced Cheese Whiz in 1952 as a revolutionary cheese sauce that could sit on shelves for months without refrigeration. It was marketed as modern convenience for the post-war housewife. Just open the jar, heat, and serve. No grating, no melting, no mess. The advertising positioned this as progress, as science making life better through chemistry. 70 years later, it's still sitting on shelves in that pressurized can with a spray nozzle, and people still buy it thinking they're getting cheese sauce. They're not. They're getting the ancestor of every ultra-processed liquid cheese product that followed, the original template that Velveeta and Tostitos copied and refined. The formula is a chemistry experiment disguised as dairy. Whey and milk make an appearance, but they're supporting actors in a cast dominated by canola oil, maltodextrin, milk protein concentrate, sodium phosphate, modified food starch, and mustard flour used as a thickener. That's right, mustard flour, because apparently actual cheese wasn't binding things together adequately. The sodium hits 262 milligrams per tablespoon, 1 tablespoon. Most people use 3 to 4 tablespoons on nachos or pretzels, which delivers over 1,000 milligrams sodium before they've even sat down. The realistic jar usage means you're consuming 71% of your daily sodium limit from what Kraft positions as a dip to make it seem more intentional than it is. The positioning as a dip is strategic deception. Dips are meant to be light applications, a little bit to enhance vegetables or chips. But Cheese Whiz is engineered to be addictive through that sodium load and oil-based creaminess. You keep going back for more because your brain registers rich and satisfying while your body processes oil, starch, and sodium without much actual nutrition. At $4 per jar, Cheese Whiz charges premium pricing for the original ultra-processed cheese sauce that created this entire category. It's the ancestor everyone copied, the original sin that taught food companies cheese could be engineered instead of aged. PepsiCo extended Tostitos from tortilla chips into dips in the 1990s, betting consumers wanted matching chip and dip systems. The marketing angle was brilliant. The perfect partner to Tostitos chips. We make both, so they pair perfectly. The perception became, if it's from the chip people, it must be right. The brand loyalty transfer is psychological genius. You trust Tostitos chips. They're corn, oil, salt, basically real food. So when Tostitos puts their name on cheese dip, your brain assumes the same quality standards apply. They don't. Not even close. Water is the primary ingredient. You're buying liquid more than cheese. The formula includes monosodium glutamate, yeast extract, and disodium inosonate plus disodium guanylate. That's a triple umami combo engineered to make your brain register rich, savory, cheesy flavor, even though you're actually tasting salt, oil, and starch. Your brain gets hijacked by compounds that enhance neural food reward signals. You're not eating food. You're eating a brain hack that makes you think you're tasting cheese when you're actually tasting chemical flavor enhancement. It's the same strategy that makes you unable to eat just one chip, except now it's making you unable to stop dipping. A realistic serving is 4 to 6 tablespoons, because nobody measures out 2 tablespoons and calls it a day. That realistic portion delivers up to 1,860 milligrams sodium. That's 81% of your daily limit in one snacking session. The fat is mostly vegetable oil pretending to be dairy richness. The protein is negligible at 1 gram per serving, which proves there's almost no actual cheese in here. At $3.50 per jar, Tostitos exploits brand loyalty from their decent chips to sell dip that's water, oil, starch, and MSG. The chips are relatively clean. The dip is deceptive chemistry wearing a trusted brand name. Walmart launched Great Value as their store brand to compete with name brands at lower prices. The nacho cheese sauce was positioned as same product, much cheaper, targeting budget-conscious families, institutional food service, and anyone convinced that store brands are identical to name brands in different packaging. Except it's not the same thing, not even close. The formula changes batch to batch based on cheapest available ingredients. The label literally says, contains one or more of canola, soybean, sunflower oil, which means you never know what you're actually getting. They're swapping oils based on commodity prices, not based on what creates the best product. Modified cornstarch is the primary structural ingredient, creating texture through chemistry rather than cheese, doing what cheese naturally does. The color game is the tell. 3 separate additives: beta-carotene, paprika extract, and annatto. This is because the actual product is pale beige and needs multiple dyes to look cheese-colored. Real cheese is yellow from carotenoids and grass-fed dairy, not from added colors. Multiple color additives signal the product has no real cheese color. It needs to be painted. 1 color additive might be masking. 2 is suspicious. 3 is a confession. The cost per ounce seems cheaper, but the formula is thinner with more water. You use more to get the same coverage, so the savings evaporate in actual usage. It's like buying cheap paint that requires 3 coats instead of premium paint that covers in 1. The unit price looks better until you calculate what you actually need to use. At $2.25 per jar, Great Value proves store brand same as name brand is a lie. Budget version means budget ingredients, which means more emulsifiers, more dyes, more tricks to simulate cheese that isn't there. Velveeta was introduced in 1915 as shelf-stable cheese product, patented for processed cheese that could survive without refrigeration. The sauce pouches were added in the 1990s for convenience, marketed as creamy, smooth, perfect for any dish. The formula uses both sodium phosphate and potassium phosphate, an unusual double phosphate combo that suggests maximum emulsification and shelf stability engineering. Here's the problem. These phosphates chelate calcium, which means the calcium from cheese claim is nutritionally false. Your body can't absorb the calcium because the phosphates bind it up and escort it right through your digestive system. 1 pouch delivers 820 milligrams sodium. Most people squeeze the entire pouch onto their nachos, which means 1,640 milligrams sodium. That's 71% of your daily limit from 1 cheese sauce application. The saturated fat is suspiciously low for cheese sauce. Real cheese is about 30% saturated fat, which proves this is mostly oil and emulsifiers, not cheese. The label says made with real cheese, but maybe 2% actual cheese by weight. The label promises calcium from cheese, but phosphates prevent absorption. The label says creamy, but creaminess comes from oil and starch, not cream. The label says convenient when cooking real cheese sauce takes 10 minutes. At $2.75 per pouch, Velveeta is the original processed cheese invention that normalized the entire category. The double phosphate combo specifically steals minerals, while delivering 71% of daily sodium if you eat the whole pouch. This is the worst because it exists in a regulatory blind spot where accountability goes to die. Movie theater pump cheese first appeared at concession stands in the 1950s to 60s with no single brand dominating. Common suppliers include Rico's, Gold Medal Products, Gales, and private labels. Theater chains just pump it without quality control, and consumers don't realize they're buying cheese separately. It just comes with popcorn. No FDA labeling requirement for pump dispensers because it's food service, not packaged food. The theater doesn't have to post nutrition facts, doesn't have to post ingredients, and the supplier can change formula without notification. The theater has no obligation to disclose how long sauce has been sitting in the warmer. Cheese is warmed to 180 degrees Fahrenheit plus for 6 to 8 hours straight. At that temperature, emulsifiers break down and separate, creating an oil slick appearance. The pump dispenser is cleaned once per shift if you're lucky. Studies show theater equipment cleaning is minimal. If the pump runs Friday through Sunday continuously, it's probably not cleaned until Monday at best. The estimated sodium is 500 to 700 milligrams per 2-ounce pump. Standard movie theater drizzle is 4 to 6 pumps, which delivers up to 4,200 milligrams sodium in topping alone. Add popcorn that's already salted, and you're consuming an entire day's sodium allotment in one movie snack. This is the only product on this list without basic nutritional transparency. It's the only product where consumers can't see ingredients. It's served in conditions that would make a restaurant health inspector shut it down. It's designed to be invisible. You're not buying it, you're getting it free with popcorn. At whatever the theater charges for nachos, you're paying for cheese that's been sitting in a warmer for hours with no temperature monitoring, no ingredient disclosure, and no accountability. This is the endpoint of ultra-processing, completely divorced from food, pure engineered product. Enough with the phosphate bombs and MSG stacks. Subscribe and stick around because the next 5 alternatives prove that real options exist. You just need to know where to look. Ranch dressing as a cheese sauce. Alternative sounds insane until you realize what cheese sauce actually is. A creamy, fatty vehicle for flavor that happens to be orange. Ranch does the same job without pretending to be something it's not. Marzetti launched the Simply Dressed line in 2015 to compete with the clean label trend that was making consumers actually read ingredient lists. They're owned by Kraft Heinz, but operate separately, which lets them make products that don't follow the parent company's ultra-processed playbook. The ingredient list reads like actual food instead of a laboratory experiment. Buttermilk, herbs, vinegar, eggs, things you'd find in a kitchen, not things that require a PhD to pronounce. No artificial colors means what you see is what you get. No MSG means the flavor comes from actual ingredients doing actual work, not from compounds hijacking your neural pathways. The sodium sits at 260 milligrams per serving, which is 11% of your daily limit. That's what a dip should be. Flavorful enough to satisfy without requiring you to drink a gallon of water afterward. Compare that to Velveeta's 820 milligrams, and suddenly ranch looks downright responsible. The creaminess comes from dairy and egg yolk, doing what they naturally do, not from emulsifiers forcing oil and water to play nice. People use this on vegetables primarily, but it works on chips, crackers, and nachos as a cheese alternative. The tangy, herby profile delivers satisfaction without the sodium catastrophe or chemical engineering. You dip, you taste ranch made from buttermilk and herbs, your body processes food instead of trying to figure out what just happened. At $3.50 per bottle, Marzetti charges mid-tier pricing for ingredients you can identify and sodium levels that won't destroy your blood pressure. The ranch is honest about being ranch, which is more integrity than most cheese sauces can claim. Blue cheese is the lie detector test of dairy products. You can't fake it. The flavor comes from actual penicillium cultures growing in real cheese, creating compounds that don't exist in nature anywhere else. If you taste fake blue cheese, you know immediately something's wrong. Your brain rejects it instinctively. This one passes the test because it contains actual blue cheese with real cultures doing real work. The characteristic funky, sharp, complex flavor only happens when mold grows in cheese for weeks or months, breaking down proteins and fats into flavor compounds that no laboratory can synthesize. No chemical shortcut exists. You either use real blue cheese aged properly with actual cultures, or your product tastes like sadness mixed with regret. The beauty of blue cheese is that it's self-authenticating. Velveeta can lie about cheese content because cheese flavor is vague and easy to approximate with salt, fat, and MSG. Blue cheese flavor is specific, unmistakable, and impossible to replicate without the real thing. The mold creates compounds with names like Roquefortine that simply don't exist elsewhere. You can't synthesize them in a factory. They only happen through fermentation. The creaminess comes from egg yolk and oil working together the way they have for centuries, not from industrial emulsifiers that sound like science fiction characters. The sodium is reasonable at around 250 milligrams per serving, enough to enhance flavor without requiring medical intervention afterward. People use this on buffalo wings primarily, but it works on nachos, salads, burgers, and anywhere strong cheese flavor is desired. The intensity means you need less to get satisfaction, which naturally controls portion size and sodium intake. At $3.50 per bottle, Marzetti proves you can deliver real blue cheese flavor with real cultures and no chemistry set. The price is the same as their ranch, and the quality is equally transparent. Greek yogurt dip as a cheese alternative sounds like diet culture nonsense until you realize Greek yogurt delivers what cheese sauce promises but never provides: actual protein and actual nutrition. Boar's Head is a deli brand with over 100 years of heritage and family ownership. They launched tzatziki as a clean-label dip alternative when Mediterranean food became trendy and people started reading labels. This is the only product on this list with live probiotics that benefit your digestive system instead of confusing it. Lactobacillus cultures doing real work in your gut versus Velveeta doing nothing but sodium damage and calcium theft. The Greek yogurt base provides 10 to 15 grams of protein per serving, which is actual nutritional value instead of empty calories wearing a cheese costume. Your body can use this protein to build muscle, maintain tissue, create enzymes. Velveeta just makes you thirsty. The sodium sits at around 80 to 100 milligrams per serving because no salt masking is needed when you're using actual food. Real cucumbers provide freshness naturally. Real dill provides herbal notes without needing flavor enhancers. Real garlic creates pungency through actual compounds that exist in garlic bulbs, not through garlic flavor synthesized in a lab. People use this on vegetables, pita chips, pretzels, and as a nacho topping alternative. The flavor profile is distinctly herby and tangy instead of salt-masked emptiness. You taste dill, garlic, cucumber, and tang, flavors that come from plants that grew in dirt and were harvested, not from synthesis and isolation. At $4.50 per container, Boar's Head charges premium pricing for live probiotics and actual Greek yogurt made from real milk. This is the only dip that improves your gut health instead of destroying it. The price difference buys you nutrition that does something useful instead of just taste that fades in 30 seconds. This is a block of aged cheddar. It's not a sauce. It requires you to do something. Slice it, grate it, melt it with cream if you want liquid. And that's exactly the point. 4 ingredients: milk, salt, cultures, enzymes. That's it. Everything else on this list has 15 to 20 ingredients trying to approximate what these 4 ingredients do naturally. The cheese is aged for over 2 years, which creates complex flavor development that no sauce can fake and no chemistry can shortcut. Sharp cheddar flavor comes from time. Proteins and fats breaking down slowly through enzyme activity and bacterial cultures working for months and years. You can't rush this. You can't synthesize it. You can only wait. The structure comes from milk proteins and fat bonding naturally during the cheese-making process, requiring no emulsifiers to hold it together, no phosphates stealing your calcium, no dyes painting it yellow. The color comes from beta-carotene in the milk from cows eating grass, no MSG hijacking your neural pathways, just milk that became cheese through time and cultures doing what they've done for thousands of years. You can slice it on burgers, melt it on nachos, grate it into mac and cheese, or eat it with crackers and apples. If you want sauce, melt it with cream in a pan for 3 minutes and you have real cheese sauce made from 2 ingredients. The nutrition per ounce includes real dairy fat with vitamins A, D, and E that your body can actually use. The calcium is bioavailable because nothing is chelating it away. At $6 per 8-ounce block, Cabot charges premium pricing versus commodity cheese, but delivers 2+ year aging and 4 ingredients you can count on one hand. This is proof that cheese doesn't require a chemistry set. Sometimes the old way is better because it's the only way that actually works. This is still processed cheese sauce. It's still got MSG, phosphates, and artificial colors, but it's the most honest product in the liquid cheese category, and sometimes transparency matters more than perfection. Rico's was founded in 1909 by Sicilian immigrant Rosario Liberto in San Antonio, Texas. In 1976, his descendant Frank Liberto invented concession nachos at Arlington Stadium for the Texas Rangers. When Howard Cosell mentioned nachos on Monday Night Football in 1978, the category exploded nationally. They pioneered this entire market and then went retail through Sam's Club in the 1980s, which means they've had 50 years to perfect the formula. The company is still family-owned through 4 generations, with Tony Liberto as current president. Family ownership matters because the incentive structure is different They're not answering to shareholders demanding quarterly profit increases through ingredient cheapening. Here's why it's number 1, despite being processed. The ingredients are listed in order with actual cheddar cheese near the top, not buried at the bottom. Competitors hide cheese quantity or don't list it at all, using vague terms like cheese product or cheese blend. Rico says cheddar cheese prominently, single sodium phosphate instead of Velveeta's double phosphate calcium theft combo. Includes actual jalapeno peppers, adding real flavor and heat, not jalapeno flavoring. Uses annatto and turmeric for color before synthetic dyes. Natural extracts doing the work first, artificial colors only as backup. The sodium is 540 milligrams per quarter cup, which is a realistic serving size that matches what people actually use. Competitors use 2 tablespoons as serving size to make sodium look lower. Then you eat 4 tablespoons and blow past 1,500 milligrams without realizing it. Rico's uses honest portions in their nutritional math, which makes the facts actually useful for making decisions. The transparency extends to the MSG disclosure. It's listed openly at less than 2%. Instead of hidden in natural flavors, like competitors do. They put real cheese high in the ingredient list instead of burying it. They use natural colors before artificial ones. This is harm reduction. If you're going to eat liquid cheese, eat the one that's honest about what it is. At $3 per jar, Rico's charges mid-tier pricing for the cheese sauce that invented the category and still maintains higher standards than competitors. The transparency is unmatched in a category built on deception. Your nachos deserve better than water with orange dye. Your family deserves better than phosphate bombs stealing calcium while delivering an entire day's sodium. Demand transparency, support the brands that deliver it, hit subscribe for more food. Truth that won't sugarcoat the facts. Drop a comment about which cheese sauces you've been buying. Let's see how many of us have been fooled by made with real cheese labels and movie theater pumps. Until next time, keep your standards high and your cheese actually cheese.